Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us on a stifling hot night. I'm probably halfway through. I'll have to get open up and let my blinds open so I won't be in the dark partway through. We have a lot of folks on tonight. I wish we could do introductions, but I'm going to pick out some new folks to let other hub captains who join these meetings regularly know some of the new folks we've got. We got Rosario from Georgetown. Hello, Rosario. And I saw Lowell. Lowell is in Squire Park. And Gina, I don't recognize the last name. Is that?
I'm in the Roosevelt neighborhood working with Ellen.
Okay, great. And then Ellen was my other one to call out from Roosevelt. And I don't see anybody else who this is sort of their first meeting, although Catherine Keller is from Homer Harris, and this may be her second meeting. So this is a great introductory one because you guys will get to jump right into, why do we do hub work? And to do it, we have to practice it. So that's our real main topic tonight. So I'm going to start with about 15 minutes of why we do drills. Then I have some multiple questions about the exercise we want to plan for in September. And then at the end, we're going to show the brand new almost finished video that Anne's been working so hard on. So any questions before I get started on those things? And Anne, if you can help me watch for raised hands as usual.
Will do.
Okie doke. Oops. Get it on page 1. Okay, so is everybody seeing the Hub Deep Dive page 1?
Yes.
I see Patty's nodding her head. Okay. So the quote down at the bottom, persistence and resilience only come through working through difficult problems. Every time we do these exercises, we go, ooh, how will we do that? So these are really good. Get your feet wet, get your hands dirty, jump in and simulate what would it be like if we had a bunch of people show up at a hub and we were really trying to facilitate the matching of needs and resources and getting information out to our communities so we can make it through those first couple days of the disaster. And that is the main thing that is the difference between a field exercise, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, and a tabletop. Tabletop exercises are more inside, you're sitting around a table, you're working on a particular problem, like how would we manage the volunteers better? And sometimes we do tabletops after these field exercises to take that step of specific and intended improvements. But field exercises are just get out there and do it. And I will say that as we've gone along and done this and learned a lot more, this is not how the professional world does it. FEMA, when they do a field exercise, man, they plan the heck out of it. And it's really rigorous, and they have observers and they have roles, and it's not overkill in the professional world. It's very needed. But for us in our volunteer capacity and knowing we've got limited bandwidth to really retain all this information and, have extremely laid out protocols that will always be used, it's just not practical. So that's the value of a field exercise. They all turn out a little bit different. We all get a slightly different results, but they always result in forward motion and improvement to doing it better next time. And then giving us a way to train new hub captains and say, well, we learned by trying it this way. That might not be so good, but if you're thinking about it, let's think about how that fits into your community. So we talk a lot during the year about what we intend to do. And so this lets us turn those things in. For those who've lived through the years of the form getting modified about every other year, you take the form you got and you try it again and you see how it works out. We assume certain things, this is who's going to turn up. We might have these languages in our neighborhood. We won't have any power at all. The grocery stores will be out of stock. So we want to test out those assumptions, which when we call for people to come be our actors and we start talking about why there's people in the park with a big tent and a lot of paperwork, it engages your community and they start going, I never thought of it that way. So the really good thing about field exercises at the multiple different hub locations is you get a lot of people involved, and if nothing, you have left them with the concept of they should be prepared. There is a hub, and a lot of them get energized to say, well, I would come down and help at the hub in the event. Now I understand what this is all about. So really seeing it real world makes it real for a lot of people. And at field exercises, we also always talk about who shall we have at this exercise? And there are partner groups out there. There's some citywide ones like listed ACS, Red Cross, the Medical Reserve Corps, but there's also local neighborhood coalitions. In West Seattle, we have a group called the West Side Interfaith Network, WIN. And I invite them so that those churches that belong to that can get an eye view of what's going on. So field exercises help build those relationships. When we do these field exercises, we have always tried to simulate at least parts of a good exercise. And the ACS people were very helpful in teaching this. Mark Shepard was really instrumental in kind of putting us on a level of professionality without going overboard. And one of the key things is to make sure you have goals and objectives. You know, if you walk into an exercise and you're practicing something, you know, think about what needs improvement based on what you did last time. So there's this cycle of you plan your exercise, you do your exercise, you check what happened, then you capture what needs to be improved and bring that forward to the next one, and that becomes your goals and objectives. And I'm not going to show it to you, but I'll put it in the Google Drive. I did a listing of what exercise, what year, what was the scenario, and then I put the goals and objectives, and I put the after action, you know, what were the top things we said we needed to improve. And you can, in many places, you can see it go like this. And you can also see, for hub captains who've been around this for a while, you can see where it says, fill out the forms so you can read them. Fill out the forms so you can read them. So we always have to practice certain things. So when I talk about an after action review, we sometimes call that a hot wash. And that means you, like the pictures show, you are standing in the field right after the exercise, and you go around and you capture people's thoughts about what did you do? What did you do well? What did not work so well? And what are really the top things that need to be improved on for the next exercise? And this is, so like I said, if I'd put in all the goals and objectives and after action review, this turned out to be 6 pages. So I just captured, this is the exercises we've done. I call them drills, but field exercise is a better description. I'll fix that. But we've been doing these since 2012, and we had never missed one until 2020 with COVID. And so I still take partial credit that we, you know, went out and did the fire department windshield exercise, and we debriefed on that. So tonight we're going to talk about what's coming up in 2021. You know, what will be our scenario? So be thinking about that. We don't need to decide the clever name tonight, but that's always kind of a fun thing. 2022 will need to be an earthquake, because that lines up with the regional Cascadia Rising exercise. So you know, that's kind of a go-to place. And then when I do the minutes of this, I will send this presentation out so you can access that slideshow of we got a really good set of photographs for one of the exercises, No Power, No Bars. And so those of you who are new can actually watch through that slideshow and see how the different hubs are set up, the different forms that are used, or way that information is organized. And you can see there's a standard of post information, but it varies from hub to hub. So I've left that link in there for you to get to that. I'm going to stop there. Is there any questions? Because now I'm going to talk specifically about the role, you know, the role of the organizer, the role of the hub captain, and then we'll get into the planning. New question seen, that's good. So I start with this. This is boring to everybody, but it's really important. That's why we talk through these, is because whoever's organizing the exercise, and over the years, I know Cheryl's helped, Ann's done one. I think Frank was on one of the planning committees, but somebody has to do all this stuff behind the scenes. So people fussing about, well, why do we have to commit? Well, because I have to have about a 2-month lead time so that we can get the appropriate PR out so that people know where to go to practice on the day of the drill. So this is what happens all behind the scene that you guys don't see. Was there a question? So, coordinating, this is what I'm doing tonight, coordinating how about selection of the date, picking the scenario, the goals and objectives, we'll talk about that a little bit. I'm not so concerned about doing that tonight, but it's more like the big tent poles we got to pick. Then I'll work on, or I'll reach out and ask for help to, create public relations PR for distribution, which includes stuff that you can put out to your community, either by social media or by blogs or by direct email. We try to make it easy as possible for you to reach out and inform people of what's going on. The injects list, I forgot to define that for people back on the prior slide. When you do a drill, an exercise, there is the scenario, and that is, what's going on? Is it earthquake, volcano, whatever? Injects means that is the message or information that is injected into your scenario that you take action on. So those are the messages that come from the city. They are the things that the citizen actors come up and go, I need a doctor. So when we talk about injects list, that's that whole list of scripts for people to use during this exercise that we tend to put in a fishbowl and let people draw them out. And then I compile those, I coordinate them with ACS because, the ham radio folks and us have to be on the same page about what the messages are coming and going from the hubs. And I make sure when we do exercises out where you're on your own, we get those to you in time for you to cut them up and put them into your fish bowls. We also, at the organizer role, coordinate trainings, because usually hub captains would like, we do it a participants guidebook. And so we go through the participants guidebook and make sure everybody's prepped and ready to go at their own drill so that you feel comfortable running your own exercise. And then we, the network also coordinates the meeting for what did you learn in your hot wash and your debrief, and we integrate those so that we kind of go, hey, yeah, like everybody had this kind of a problem, or everybody found this worked really well. And that helps us set in that cycle, what are we going to do in the next time? So your role in the field exercise, this would be a typical exercise where we'd have 15 hubs all over the city, and you'd have said, I'm going to stand up my hub. So this would typically be your role. You'd be working with your team and your community to say, here's what's going on, here's the date, here's what we plan to do, here's what I need, here's how to engage with us, because we use this as a very strong promotion of emergency preparedness, personal emergency preparedness, as well as just what's a hub. We ask that you attend the training because it makes it much better for you if you know what you're doing. There is prep work, and after multiple years of this, we learned some of you don't look at that prep work until the night before. So we try and encourage you to be a little bit ahead of that. If you had anything, sometimes hubs are so new and they still want to get out in the field. You can set your own goals and objectives. Your goal and objective is just to set up and do 10 messages. You want to do a slow motion drill. You do not have to do every goal and objective. And sometimes we sort it that way. We go, here's 2 goals and objectives that are for the new hubs, 2 kind of like easy entry level ones. And for you hubs that have done this multiple times, we want you to work on, possibly these more complex, because we really want to test out sending situation reports to the city, for example, some of the more complicated things. But once you set your goals and objectives, you do a mental walkthrough and go, well, how will this work during the day? It's just like Olympic athletes do. They, the skaters go through their routine and go, what if? Then you make sure that you've communicated with your team to make sure they're informed, they know when to show up. If you're going to do any pre-assigning of roles, like make sure you've got you really want a radio operator, you have to reach out probably and make sure you've got your radio operator on board and that date is locked down for them. So that's something you can do. And other hub captains go, hey, just show up and we'll figure it out the first 10 minutes. Again, printing out the scenarios, for you to have something for your citizen actors to, run through your hub is important. And then you have to also think about, coming half hour, 45 minutes early, because it takes a little while to set up, and you want to be set up and ready to go when the drill fires off, not, halfway through your briefing. And then, how will you tear down and taking care of the coffee and donuts, because nothing works better than coffee on a morning drill. I just realized one of the things I forgot to say in the network responsibilities. For those of you who have a hub in a park, we always have to coordinate a permit. So the network does a one permit request for all the hubs, which again is why it's important for you to decide if you're in or out. And so that we can get that paperwork, which is a 60-day lead at least on that. This time, it's not so much a big deal if we're only going to do 1 or 2 locations. So, and what we really talk about is enjoy the exercise. I mean, this is not intended to be a stress event for everybody. It turns out like that, but nobody's going to die during this event. This is the time to actually make the mistakes, laugh at your mistakes, enjoy the camaraderie, because you meet some amazing people doing these, and just chill a little bit. It's not a big deal. And then afterwards, run your after action review and actually type up your comments and get them back into us. So, a little bit of work for you, but it's really, we try and make it so it's not onerous. We have all these tools have been used over and over again, and they get better every time somebody touches them and uses them. So in the Google Drive, if you want to do your own exercise, we're going to do this one big one here, but if you want to do one before or after this exercise, because you just want to do your small team, we have a document that says all these steps that I just talked about and points you to some of the tools that we developed. And what I did in our Google Drive, every one of these drills has a folder that looks like this. It's got the scripts, it's got the participants guide, it's got pictures of what happened, it's got anything special we were doing, like sometimes we're working on new forms, the universal, this one happened to be when we were testing out the universal communication signs. So all that ends up being kind of locked in and held in a drill, so it's super easy to replicate at your own location should you want to. I think that's the end. So that's kind of the end of here's how and why we do drills. It's a lot of it's in email. There's one meeting ahead of time for an in-person briefing. We'll probably do that on Zoom, just because, but that gives you time to ask questions, and hopefully we do it far enough in advance so you can cascade it down to your members so they know what to expect. So I'm going to pause like back here and say, any questions before we start planning the real event? Ooh, this sounds early. It sounds like everybody wants to plan the event. Okay. I'm not going to leave this screen up because I'd rather have us all be able to look at ourselves. But, I knew I'd been thinking about this one location, and I was scrolling through the leadership retreat for something else, and I went, oh my gosh, no wonder I remember this so well. We made a decision when we have our biannual leadership retreat that we were going to try a single, let's all get together and see best practices and run one giant exercise. And so I mailed this out already, but the thought was some hubs say we didn't really get to test everything because people didn't show up until late in the exercise, or we had confusion at the beginning, and by the time we got really going, it was time to quit. And some people didn't have enough people to run all the roles, so we've got hub captains who've never even tried to work with a PIO or a safety officer. We've learned safety officer during COVID is probably going to be an important role. And then if we're all doing it together, that lets us do more of that instant debrief. And, if we've got people backing up at the front door, we can all say, stop, 10 minutes to recalibrate and make changes and then go forward, which you don't often get to do in the field because you know, the messages come in regardless of what you're doing. So it gives us a little more control over, you know, adjusting on the, as we go. And then, like I said, it's a place to share best practices. So I have those things written down, and I have a bunch of, you know, my Cindy logistic questions. Stop sharing. So is there you know, like before I get going, any more general stuff? Okay, you're a quiet group tonight. I'm gonna go. What scenario would you like to do? Cindy would go, let's not make up, you know, men from Mars. Let's go with maybe something that's, you know, like pre-canned and easy to pull out injects. So the 3 that are quickly, you know, not a burden to do, so we could focus on the activity more than the drill planning. A no power scenario, which is typically when we'd activate. An earthquake, typically when we'd activate. And we've done one where a volcano, the ashfall and lahar took out the power system. So it was power out, but it was included the ashfall was coming over Seattle. And that was just a new dimension. You know, it was what it was, and you got the scenario and you went from there. So I did not think ahead to do a poll. Can you put in chat? Let's do it that way. Just put in your number 1 choice. Okay, are you guys all slow typers? I'm not seeing anything. There we go. I got 5 earthquakes, 1 power out. Earthquake, earthquake, power out, earthquake.
3 power outs.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking it's probably going to be earthquake, which is fine. I mean, earthquake and power out are similar, and we probably would just de-emphasize any screaming injured bodies, you know, to really do the power out, you know, scenarios anyways. No, Russians hacking the power grid feels very timely. I don't know if you guys caught that, but the very first one we did right out of the gate was a terrorism attack, and they took out the power grid and the water supply, which is why it was called Hydra. And we fed in injects of people getting sick after drinking the water, and people were supposed to figure that out. That was a little too complicated. Yeah, we'll save Russians hacking for later, I think. Okay, I'm kind of seeing earthquake, so we'll go with that unless there's some, you know, that just makes it super easy. Okay. Date. Okay, what is it and what's the date? So we, after I eliminated the people who voted twice in the poll, a couple of you, there was, it was almost a super close tie. Oh no, where'd my paper go? Between the 18th and the 25th. And so Ann and I were talking, and then I saw it again in the leadership notes. Maybe we do one in the north on one date and one in the south on the other date, because one of the considerations is Ann and I both want to be at the drill, and she can't be at one of them. And that was the one that had one more vote than the other one. And we went, well, when we look at who can come, if we do those 2 dates, then that means everybody can come. There's only one person who isn't available for either of those dates. So I'll do one in the south, and Ann can do one in the north. So sound okay? You know, do a thumbs up on that one on your screen for me. You know, if you can do it on the reactions too. Yeah, because some I can't see. I'm just looking at. Okay. And so to make Ann's schedule work, she'll do the north one on the 18th. Yep, I'm seeing all thumbs up, good. And then I'll do the south one on the 25th, which works for me. That clears my conflict that I was trying to work around. And if you can't make the one in your normal sector, you come to the south one. It's, no big deal. Cross either way, or come to both. It won't matter at all. Okay, I think that was a decision. That was a decision to split the decision. Okay. So now the next one, these are going to be 3 kind of interactive. So get yourselves off mute and try to have your background and maybe raise your hand. Here's the 3 questions. They all kind of interrelate. At each of those days, we can have 1 or 2 or 3 hubs. And we've done an exercise here in West Seattle where we had a small park and we did 2 separate hubs. And that way we had one hub staff and another hub staff, and they did whatever they wanted to do. They looked different at the end. And we had all the citizen actors lining up in the middle and shooting them off. So that gave us a big crowd of people that we could do. If we don't think that there's going to be enough hub captains, because listen to the third question, then we would just do 1 at each location. The second question that's related to why would you even ask about whether you're going to do more than 1 hub is because if you only do 1 hub for 3 hours, there's 10 positions, let's say, there's 9 or 10. Only 10 people get to play. Everybody else is an actor. Unless you plan halfway through, you're going to somehow rotate. So the other interlocking part of that is, does everybody want to have hands-on playing time? And if so, we have to construct it. So either we do a shift change or there's 2 hubs going and everybody gets 3 hours, under their belt, or you start as an actor and you rotate in, and you do that just like a normal hub. Somebody says, hey, I want to go take an hour break. And, you find who out there in the field has said, hey, I want to play, and you go grab them and integrate them in and do our on-the-job training. Hey, you're going to be the greeter. Here's your book. I'll watch you do it. Now I can go on my break. So that's the second dimension. And the third dimension, depending on what we do, like let's say we're going to do an all up 2 hubs at each day, and we're going to have a shift change, and we want as many actors as we get. Who all do we invite? Do we just invite hub captains? No, we need more people than that. Do we invite all our hub volunteers, or do we invite everybody in all our communities? And I put it in the newsletter, and we just get a bunch of people and say, if you're not here for a role, you're an actor. And then we can, flood the hubs with injects coming in. So that's the 3 sort of dimensions of the question. So it's kind of like super easy. No, not everybody has to play. You can stand around and watch, or everybody's playing and we're running at high speed. What do you guys feel like?
I like number 3 because you'll get the most people there.
That the go all holes. Yeah.
That's what.
That is, I forgot to say that helps us with our who we are and what we do and PR, because you invite people to play. Okay.
Yep.
Other comments?
I also think that, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also think that last time, what was artificial from the hub that we saw was that it was underpopulated. It was underutilized. And so I don't think people really got tested, And I think it would be far better to over-test than to under-test, because we don't really know how much we can handle. And, frankly, in real life, we could be overrun. So let's go for it and try it.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Anybody got concerns about that?
Well, I don't have a concern, but I wonder, do you, while people are maybe waiting around, you have maybe a separate educational component somewhere where you're trying to educate people? You've got all that going on. Okay, great.
Yep. Yeah, we
Or
would
does that
definitely,
kind of
survival
keep them
skills
entertained?
there.
yeah, we would definitely have the PIO and educator booth, and we've told ACS that they probably better plan on having an information booth there as well. Frank?
Yeah, one of the things that's happened on the past ones, if you're running a drill and people show up and you're part of the drill that's happening, you're the hub manager, you're the greeter, the information organizer, and people come up and they want to know what's going on while you're acting your role in the drill. In other words, I'm interacting with 4 other people as information organizer. I got to stop and explain for the 5th time in a row. So how would you suggest we alleviate that on this project?
What we've done in West Seattle, we have a person who doesn't want to be a hub captain, and she knows all the roles. She loves teaching people. So we set her up in a table a little bit separate. Anne's going, yeah, me too. Separate, that teaches them, and can talk everything from hub to individual preparedness, and they just stay out of the boundary. And when they're finished learning whatever they came for, we go play, go play now.
Cindy, how is that person different than the PIO, the public information officer?
It's the same thing. It's
Okay.
during the, but a PIO during the exercise is not, telling you why you're there, right? They're a more teaching PIO, here's the information. This is truly a PR person more than a PIO.
I'm not
Me-
following.
I
Yeah,
think
bring it
they'll-
in.
During an exercise, well, let me try again. During an exercise, or excuse me, during a real disaster, right? We probably wouldn't even have a PIO, because what would the PIO
Right.
be doing, right?
Yeah.
So this is the PIO for the hubs during an exercise. Okay,
And their job is to educate the public walking up going, what's going on?
So you could
Yeah.
even, you could almost refer to as a public outreach officer at that point, because
Sure.
you just to clarify, it makes it so much simpler if you're trying to do an exercise that you don't have to break up the action.
Yeah.
and their table is like out in front of the greeter, right? So that the looky-loos, we call them the looky-loos, walking by during an exercise going, wow, what's going on in the park here, who didn't even know what was going on. Or it's the person who says, I got this email from my neighbor saying, show up here. What's going on? What do I do? And then that way it keeps it away from the greeter and the hub captain.
So
Cindy,
we're thinking of having 2 locations, one north and one, and 2 locations in the north and 2 locations in the south.
Haven't gotten to that because I'm collecting I heard over test. And so that says to me, I can send out, gobs of publicity. And then the next question will be, so how confident are you that we can have 20 people for 3 hours or 40 people doing 1.5-hour shifts, right? That's what that decision comes from. Linda, you had your hand up.
Well, it seems like there's might be one other possibility, which is that we're assuming that it's one person, one job. Whereas in reality, if there was a lot of crowd to deal with, we think there might be a couple greeters. We think there might be a couple in other roles. And so I think there will be more opportunity for people to participate if we get enough crowd.
Okay, so would you worry about staffing 2 hubs and just go with 1, or would you try and
I would
staff
tend
2
to
hubs?
think, well, this is just my own personal opinion, that a 1 hub, and if you need to, you double up on the positions and you kind of buddy up. If this is for educating us, then there's no harm in having 2 people there. In real life, yeah, it might be better to just have one voice to dealing with people, but even to have 2 hub captains who are
Jointly
it
walking
together,
through it.
I think it would be fine to do that.
Okay, that's a good input, Frank.
There's one other thing in that too, at least one other thing, and that is it makes it easier then to do an internal rotation after an hour, because we've done that before. I've said, for the first hour, I say I'm going to be hub manager. Anybody want to be hub manager the second hour and sort of shadow me on the first hour? A hand goes up, that's covered, so you switch it around and you have that understood up front. But I think one of the first things that pops up for me, there's 24 people on the screen tonight. Of those 24, how many could commit to either of the 2 days right now? So we'd have some idea of how many people could actually show.
Well, so when I put out that email and I said, don't put a date down unless you can commit to it. So if you put a date down,
Right.
you're committed. And so that means I've got 30 on one date and
each
31
date.
on the other date,
Yeah.
right?
Cindy,
Okay,
Catherine
got
has
it.
her hand up.
Yeah, Catherine, and then did you have something also, Anne?
No.
Okay, so at least Frank, I already know for the people who voted on the date, I've got that, but I still can put a call out and go, I need hub captains to RSVP so that, now that we know the dates and, which one are you going to commit to? Because often people said I'm available for both dates.
Okay.
Catherine,
So this is Gabrielle, but then you're assuming that people can come to both. Like, I think I can come to both, but no, you're not. Okay.
no, I would say tell me which
Take
one
the
you're going
one
to
you
come
want.
to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Catherine?
Yeah, what I'm thinking is the reality check is, you've got newer people like us who we did one tabletop exercise and one person attended one of these exercises in Madison Park. So, I'm like, well, I'm open to doing whatever on one of those days, but I don't know what I want to do, and I don't know who else from my hub wants to be there. And so there's a outreach to the public, right? And I would like to see neighbors come and everything if they can. I hope it's centrally located, but also it's also going to be recruiting people to commit to the will they do a role, and I mean that people probably want to, but but that but that isn't probably everybody on your email list
Oh, right.
training. So I think that's also something you might figure out. Oh, we have enough people to do 2 hub sites like within 2 weeks, for example, but not tonight. That's all I'm saying. When
I
you're
think I got most of it all the way to the end. I would hope that you and Lee are reaching out to your hub members going, this is a time for us to get valuable training. So that's the
Yeah.
first thing.
Yeah,
In your larger community, and I can't guarantee where these are going to be, and it'll work for some people to travel and not, say, hey, if you want to learn about what the hubs are and you can help us by being an actor, please come. Yeah,
sure.
so we would do.
But that's
book
just going
those
to
directly.
take some time to get people to make a commitment, make your commitment, and which role might you want to do. I mean, and
Not
so,
gonna
Yeah.
pre-assign roles. Yeah,
well,
It's a little more ad lib than that,
well, I'm
Catherine.
just saying when you're trying to figure out how many bodies do you have to do you want to do 2 hubs at the park or 1? Like in a couple of weeks, you'll probably know.
no. It's not that easy. If we're gonna do 2 hubs, we got to know ahead of time because if you can't set it up without the gear, right?
Oh, okay, got
Yeah.
it.
So I need to know because one of the next questions is who's bringing all this crap, So we'll get to that. But what I'm hearing is I'm kind of hearing 1 hub, double up the people so that it's a one place setup. We can spread out larger so that there's not the crowdedness of you're all under 1 tent to facilitate lots of actors coming in. And we did this up at Vancouver. They had multiple people at each role. That was how they chose to do it. And then Catherine, you've never seen Ann and me at a drill. I mean, if we needed a greeter and everybody's sitting around with their hands behind their back, we're going to find a greeter. There's no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to an element of being trained here. So I
Yeah.
would love to team up with
Yeah.
somebody doing a job. That's all
Yeah.
I'm trying to imply.
Yeah. Okay. I thought I saw somebody else leaning forward.
Cindy, which is the best hub to have size-wise, like Hiawatha, or is there a bigger one? Or
Well, I think we're just going to pick a new. What I have to do is find Ann and I both have to find places people are willing to travel to,
sure,
right? So Hiawatha might be one, but I have to think of how the southeast and the central east people can get. And I don't think anybody wants to come to West Seattle these days. I got to tell you.
Beacon Hill would be really central. That
We're
big
gonna come to locations later. So what I got is we're gonna run an over test. I love your word, Linda. 1 hub, buddy up, so that multiple people can play at a role, plan for a shift rotation. And if there's not enough people to do a full shift rotation, somebody just works for 3 hours at one place. When I do the here's the decision, people, I'm gonna try and this will come after I get back from my week vacation, but I'll do a RSVP that says, which date are you committing to? And do you want to be a player, a hub volunteer or an actor? just to get a sense of how many people we start with, you know, and I won't say, you know, you're committing that, but I'm just interested to make sure that everybody who wants to get a hub volunteer role in, we plan it big enough to get that opportunity. Frank? Frank, gotta get off mute. And Catherine, put your hand down.
Yeah, I'd add one more to that, and that would be public outreach person or whatever. In other words, somebody like me whose throat will hold out that long and just who knows the system and is willing to sit there and as people come up, explain it to them. And, you know, I'd certainly switch off with that if I did it. But, you know.
I don't think I'll put that in the poll because we only need 2, 1 for each day. And I
Okay.
think that's easy for me to call, you know, my usual West Seattle person. She'd probably do it for the South End, so.
Sharon?
Oh, no,
Cindy?
Karen Berge.
Oh, okay.
Cindy, if we're looking at splitting up the job into 2 shifts, what about the idea of making it a little bit longer? I feel like whenever we've done drills, by the time we've got some kind, you know, we've got people trained and stuff's working, oh, it's time to, you know, time to end the drill.
I
So
think.
could we look at maybe 4 hours?
I think that's what I put, 9 to 1.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Well, only because of exactly that, you know, if we're gonna do 1, it's kind of a mess, and that would mean a longer after action too. So
Yeah.
definitely I'd plan till 1.
And then Patty's got her hand up.
Okay, Patty?
Yeah, okay, I can talk. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so and I'm wondering too, okay, so we have some new captains and maybe when you're asking for who wants a role and who wants to be a participant, maybe also just, you know, reminding people that they don't have to 100% know how to do these roles. I mean, the whole thing is we're learning as we're going, you know?
OJT.
Yeah.
Got it. And then the other people to invite who can help us with kind of the observations and evaluations, I think I'd like to go ahead and suggest we knew ACS because they want to be part of the players, but we have the Medical Reserve Corps if they're not exhausted by COVID, and Red Cross and OEM and, you know, all the people who we've worked with in the past to say, hey, come check in with us. I was actually in going through the drills. I mean, we had Snohomish County Emergency Management. We've had Clark County Emergency Management. We've had all sorts of people, and I'll reach out to them and go, hey, come back for a refresh, you know, see what you think. So that gives us more actors because they like, you know, talking to us about what we do and improvements. So, and then that also means you guys can invite, like I'll invite the church network. You know, I'm not going to send them the poll. I'm just going to say, here's what we're doing and here's the date and here's the one closest to you. Please get this out to all the people we've worked with in the past during our sheltering discussions and have them come. So that's the sort of PR that we'll write for you to send out to get your people involved. Okay, so I think we got that all done. Now, Ann and I are going to be really listening to this next answer. Well, we do the exercise things. We're not the hub captains. These are things, you know, we've learned that you can't do the exercise and answer everybody's question on the day of across the city and try and manage the hub. So we're going to need a couple of hub captain volunteers. And then for those people who would like to volunteer because they really want to chomp at the bit, like one year I had Erica just about knock me over because she really wanted to do the role and she was fabulous. So that was great. But should Ann and I provide all the equipment at these locations, or does that hub captain want to bring their stuff and do it the way they're used to it, right? I mean, that's why we're doing this. So if anybody's on the call that says, I really like the way my hub is and I want to do a demo with all these people because I've always wanted to try it out that way, this is your opportunity. Anybody? How long can silence go? Yeah. So you can see, you know, we're going to have a little bit more discussion about who are our starter hub captains, and we can work that behind the scenes. And I kind of assumed that I'd be dragging my gear you know, and setting it up. The kind of weird thing is I may have some props and aids that I have that you like. I'm going to pick on Cheryl, right? Let's say Cheryl says, I'll be hub captain. She may never have seen them and not be familiar with them. So, you know, there's a little bit of risk at that, but we can work that out later. Most hubs are kind of all generally the same. You know, you either have a whiteboard or you have a posting board or a whatever. So we'll bring the props that we generally use in a Hub 101 because those are common enough to everyone. So Anna and I'll work that a little bit more, okay? Hub 101 props. All right, now, date for, oh, okay, so I'm gonna go back to roles and training. So I think what I heard is 4 hour, okay, a 4 hour block, and help me here. Is it an hour and a half and then a shift change, an hour and a half and a shift change, and then the after action review? Or is it 2 hours, and then the after action review?
I would go with 2 and 2.
Okay.
But
and we'll do a formal switch out so that it's not a, you know, there'll be emergencies. Somebody will come and say, I can only stay for an hour, and we'll have to kind of handle those. But we'll plan on 2 hours, stop and debrief so that you can get the kind of like the quick feedback from the people as they finish the role. Then either move everybody one position or bring in actors who want to sit, however the hub captain, you know, assesses that it's going to happen, but it'll be a formal 2 hour shift. So then we need to plan for an extra half an hour for the debrief after. Correct?
well, if you're wanting to debrief after the first shift, then I would say an hour and a half shift, half hour debrief, hour and a half shift, half hour debrief. Because some folks are going to want to work their, you know, 1 or 2 hours and then leave.
Yeah.
And we're going to miss their input if we
Yep.
wait till the very end.
That's true. I guess that's true. So then another question is, do we do picnics at the end of these? You know, or just, is everybody going to be going, I am
I've
pooped?
done a cocktail.
Well, we do beer and brats. You know, we all come back to my house and we do West Seattle ones, and we do, you know, we have 20 people in the living room doing beer and brats. So I'm happy to do something like that. Are people open to hanging around? I have also done other events with people where it's like, hey, there's only 3 of us and 50 hot dogs.
I think we can wait on that conversation for,
Okay.
Yeah.
for
But
until
put it
we
in your
get closer.
minds, right? So an hour and a half shift change, you know, which is just breathe, chaos, you know, get the debrief, then an hour and a half. I think an hour and a half will be okay, because we should be able to be right up on plane. It's not like waiting for the actors to show up and the radio mess to get, you know,
Yeah.
its usual cleared out. So a total of 4 hours. Okay.
Frank, did you have something?
Yeah, I would just
All right.
suggest if we're going to have a debrief, that maybe when people come on, and it could be as simple as 5 points, when you get to the debrief, these are the 5 things we're going to cover. Or these are the 5 areas, information flow, you know, whatever you think they are, because then you can aggregate that data and see, hey, is there a general problem with the whole thing on information flow or whatever it is?
Yeah, I would rather stick with the ACS format, which is what worked. And usually
right.
what we do is you have everybody in a,
Right,
you know,
right,
people
right.
stand around, you go, what worked? And everybody gets to say what worked. And then you have what didn't work. And then everybody gets to pick their what needs to be improved. And you get different perspectives because the greeter's perspective is different than the radio guy's perspective. But
Thank
if you've
you.
got buddies sitting there, you know, so that leaving it more general puts more work on the people afterwards to aggregate it, but it gets you more, you know, it
Perspective.
opens it up to a broader range of input than narrowly guided.
You just have a recorder then.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what cell phones are for now. I can tell you.
Well said, well said.
Okay, so I think, and then we're gonna do all functions, and there are 3 functions in there that nobody almost ever practices because we just usually don't have enough staffing to get there, and it's Anne, and it's the ones that Anne has like added from her experiences, the medical,
officer,
the safety
the
officer,
home-
which we, yeah, all agreed on, and the
home visit coordinator,
yeah. And so we'll cover those in the
Reunification.
training. I
and the
realize,
reunification officer.
and so we'll cover those when we do the training so that people know, have a better sense of what those are. So then, and then that brings me to the next question, which is, we do need to set a date for the training. And so again, Ann and I were talking, and we don't have a hub captain meeting in August. So here are 5 possibilities. One would be, now remember, we're going to do your training, but you can do outreach at any time. You might feel more comfortable doing outreach after your training, or you may go, I got plenty, I can go. It's just show up here at this time and that sort of thing. And so you might be more comfortable with the training closer to the actual date. So one, Anne has offered up her Northeast Hub Captain's date of August 26th, which puts us, you know, about 3 weeks before the first exercise. We could also do Tuesday, August 31st, Thursday, September 2nd. Then we have to jump over the holiday week into September 15th and 16th. So what do you guys think? Earlier or wait closer to the event?
I'm gonna grab my calendar.
Yeah.
Can
yeah,
you just say the dates again, just so everybody can look?
August. Oh,
This is
I
the
think-
7 o'clock time, or what is it?
Yeah, it would be in the evening.
So the first one is August 26th, which is Ann's usual hub night.
Yep.
And then the
Second.
There they
2nd
are.
of September.
So
That's the
August-
night of the Northeast District Council meeting, but we usually try to end by 7. So I could make that work, I guess. And then
Well, so the first question to everybody is earlier or closer to the event?
oh, okay, sorry.
No,
I'm
that's
getting off
okay.
track
Keep
now.
going through your calendar because it makes a
Um,
difference for some people. Or do you not care?
Not care.
I don't care, but I know people with kids, sometimes when you get into the 15, 16, you're into like the curriculum nights and all those things at first, those middle weeks. I don't know how much of an issue that is with our current volunteer population, but I know those weeks in September can get really busy.
Yeah. One thing I'm thinking is to do it on August 26th, tape it, then we have it available. And then I do another one, you know, maybe like before, which says, watch this video, and then Cindy will be on with that slide deck and answer any questions that you might have. You know, if you couldn't get to the first one, or you watch the video and you have questions, you want to talk to a live person. How would that work?
Yeah, I like that.
That sounds good.
We can skin a cat anyway. So I'll pick, we'll do the 26th. Thank you, Anne, for that. And then I don't know, the only thing I hate about September 15th and 16th is that the 14th, another night during that week, would be our normal deep dive. And we just found out that the Office of Emergency Management moved their transportation webinar from September 1st to our night, our deep dive night. So if I do a training that week, that means, you know, somebody's going to have two nights that week, but I think I'll probably pick September 15th. Because I don't feel like trying to coordinate around a deep dive right after that webinar. That was a brutal night. So, and then that is, again, that's only for people who missed the first one, who actually want to have a person to talk to about, you know, what's going to happen. Okay.
So you're leaning towards being live on the 26th and then doing something again later on a later date. I see in my calendar, there's a Sounders game on the 15th, probably at 7 o'clock. And those do change, but that's what they have now on the schedule.
Yeah, is this an online training or is this
Say again?
online? Is this on Zoom or in person?
No, it'll be Zoom. I don't know. I
okay.
haven't even started thinking about where we can do in-person
Yeah.
meetings again yet. So
Okay,
Zoom's just gonna be easier. Yeah. So it'll be like, watch the video beforehand. I'll be on for half an hour with the deck. And if anybody's got specific questions, we can go over them.
okay.
So I assume that the hub committee here, the team here in East Lake could all attend. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, you can attend all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, the training on the 26th is for every hub captain and every hub member who wants to show up.
Okay.
Yeah. And
And
this it
so
would be the
will
same for
the
you.
deep dive on the 14th be canceled?
I haven't decided yet, you know, because we just learned that today. And so I'm going, oh, great. That means we have to do another one of our start at, 7:30 or 7:45 because their thing ends at 7:30. And then what would we deep dive anyway? So, that could be the other answer is there's no deep dive and we do this second training, but it puts people doing 2 meetings on one night. I never know how people feel, like make it painful all on one night, then I get my other night free or what. So that's what we might do. The last question I have is for the ham people on that we would like ACS to be there and we'd like them to simulate just like they're getting radio injects from other hubs in the sector and in traffic from the city. So unless somebody has an objection, we're gonna play that, but it'll be more simulated than having our hubs talk hub to hub and then pass it into ACS. Anybody got any other ideas or any comments you want to do? They're willing and they're waiting for us to tell them which date. So, okay. I think that covered everything. And
Cindy, I had a comment.
Yep.
So in their exercises, even if there isn't anybody practicing actual hub to hub, could a scenario include as if another hub had contacted them and it needed to go up the chain? I mean, that would be a exercise.
Yeah, it would be, we would have a radio operator for the hub just like normal. And then, 50 feet away would be ACS net control. So we would still get that passing of traffic.
Cool.
Yep. Okay, I think that covers everything. And had you thought of anything else?
Yeah, real quick, while we're kind of gearing up for this big drill, I mentioned it to the North Side hub captains, and I just want to mention it here in case anybody hasn't heard about it. I did what I call a ham huddle the other day, and it was finding ham radio operators in my community. I actually physically mailed them an invitation, invited them to where our hub is. So I opened the box for them. I showed it to them. I explained how the hub works and how we fit in with the city. And then ACS members from my sector, the Northeast sector, were there and told them how they could be helpful in a disaster. So, how communication goes, the hub doesn't talk to the city, the hub talks to the sector talks to the city. So explained that whole thing, explained about ACS, all that kind of stuff. So called it a ham huddle. If you want to do one, I can give you everything I've done. I wrote the directions on how I got their addresses. You can have my invitation, modify it to fit your date and your location and all that kind of stuff. I had the agenda of what we talked about. So I've tried to make it as easy as possible to help you guys reach out and find your ham radio operators. I sent the invitation to 15 hams and 3 of them showed up. And 2 of the 3, I think, are going to become members of ACS. So and this was a really warm day. I was very impressed with the folks that came out. They were so excited and just very cool. So I'll give that stuff to Cindy. It's on I think it's on the Google Drive, but I'll give it to Cindy. She can send it out with the minutes. Anyway, just don't hesitate to steal that idea and run with it. And I've tried to make it as easy as possible. So find those radio guys.
Cool. And if
Great.
you can send me that tonight, because I'm doing the minutes tonight, or at least I'm doing the decisions tonight. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The last thing is locations too. Anything else, Ann?
One last thing, please encourage your neighborhoods to get together for National Night Out. It's the first Tuesday of August, always is the first Tuesday of August. I think small groups of neighbors gathering together outside is completely safe, and we all need that. I wouldn't beat them over the head with disaster preparedness stuff this time, because it's really, people need a chance to socialize. But if you can, encourage your block watch captains or yourself or whomever, get folks together to socialize on National Night Out, but then set a date in September, which is Disaster Preparedness Month, to get together and start planning together about how you can be better prepared as a block. And I'll have a series of classes that I'm gonna do in September, and you guys are welcome to spread that information out to your communities and get folks prepared. The classes are gonna be how to prepare individually as a household, but then what I'd like to do after the class is give people a Zoom room, not a Zoom room, it's called a breakout room. Give neighborhoods a breakout room where you can sit and talk for an extra, 45 minutes after the meeting amongst yourself as a block or as a tower or apartment building or whatever. So that's coming. So don't let National Night Out go by without doing something. And when you get folks together, plan on your next meeting, decide on a date and a time and a place, and then start working on that disaster preparedness stuff.
We found out that some of the crime prevention coordinators, like in West Seattle, they give out swag bags. So we put in a West Seattle hub card into their swag bag, is ordered 500 more. And so if you have connections with your crime prevention coordinator, you can talk with them about, what are they handing out or how can they help promote the hubs. I did get the new map. Now the new map from Matt is done like yesterday or the day before. So I'll be loading it up in the Google Drive and sending that out in a few days. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to be doing on this camping trip, I guess. And anyway, having that available to talk to people or print out small copies. I have not gotten a printed stock from him yet. I haven't even asked for that. So that's good news. And then the other thing we'll have that's outreach that maybe could go on any PR that you create is the when Ann gets the link finalized for the new video, which we're going to go into right after locations. So good. Anything else, Ann?
No, that's it.
Okay. So here's the ideas that I've gotten from the ACS crowd. Discovery Park, Our Redeemer Church, which is up at next to the Ballard Pea Patch Hub. There was a location on Mount Baker Boulevard. Somebody's looking into Franklin School. And then, of course, North and South Seattle colleges. Those would be really good locations for North, not so good for South because it's in West Seattle. But is anybody got, since we're only going to do the one hub, kind of one spread out hub, North and South, not multiple, it doesn't have to be huge, but has anybody got a hub location that they think would work for folks? Meadowbrook was one I actually thought of because of their nice parking lot where their hub box is. That's a
Because they're
possibility.
in a church. Yeah, Pam was on here. I think Maple Leaf is kind of attractive. They have space. All they have is street parking. North Seattle College. I hadn't thought about that. God, that'd be amazing.
That would be perfect. So,
and on a Saturday, you're not going to have many kids in the parking lot if they're even, well, the school will be open, but
ACS has made some really good connections up there. So,
yeah.
So I'm kind of looking for Southeast, and I really hadn't turned my brain onto it. Southeast or Central. Homer Harris, I think, is probably too small. We'd take up the whole park. It'd be like, nobody can use the park today because we're going to be here. But
yeah,
Judkins,
Homer Harris has some residents living there.
Yeah, Judkins is huge. And so it's not got great parking, but if people don't have to schlep equipment, maybe that's not so bad. So if you have any ideas, please send them to me. Bill said locations ? What's that mean?
I thought you were maybe skipping that aspect of it.
No, I kept forgetting to let Ann add anything into the actual drill before I moved on to location.
I have no way to deliver, but I do think Judkins is a great central location. And I like Jefferson Park personally as a very central, not that I know anything about it.
Nope, Jefferson is actually an excellent suggestion. So I think I'll follow up on that. Yeah, Carolyn. Yeah, Jefferson. Yeah, that would work perfect for Carolyn. Right next door. Okay, so if you get any other ideas, put them in the chat, and I'll catch those before the end of the meeting, or email them if you wake up in the middle of the night with a fantastic idea. I wanted to finish, pretty close to 8. So anything else, or we're going to go see the video here?
Cindy, is there any kind of general flyer that has contact information and so on that we could hand out at the neighborhood night? Because there's a lot of people there. If I can think of a lot around here,
Yes. For
Okay.
you, I will get you one of the West Seattle postcards that shows all the West Seattle hubs and has all the information. So how many do you want?
I would say I could use probably, 25 maybe,
Got
or
it.
more. God, I don't know. I'm going to be on my bike just riding around to all of them. So
We did that one year. Let me tell you how many hills there are in West Seattle, but yes,
Like
you
Middle
ride from block party to block party and you stop
Yep.
and you give them the 1-minute speech and it worked great.
that's what I'm
So-
going to do.
I'll talk to you when I get back in town, which will
Okay.
be on 20th or so. All right, I want to show the video.
There's some chatter in the chat about the hub brochure. I think it's a good idea.
What's the chatter? I'm sorry, I went.
About passing out a hub brochure at National Night Out. If you're sure that they're going to pay attention to it, sure. If they're just going to throw it away, then maybe not.
Yeah, that's why we were saying if you have a local one, because a lot of the hubs had developed, like Rainier Beach, Miquoa, they had developed a localized one, and there's usually in the outreach folder, there's examples. So you can, if you're a single hub just getting started, then maybe that would work. But I don't know how many our grant paid for. Usually we give those out at tables where we can actually talk to the person and have interaction with them instead of it just going out in a big, oh, look what's in my swag bag, I'm going to throw it away. So who was asking, Ann?
A couple different hubcaps. A thought is if you take a picture of your hub, like a picture from back where you can show where it is in the park or parking lot or whatever, so they can visualize where the hub is. And then you get closer, you open it up and you pull a couple things out, a couple signs out, and you spread things out kind of nice so that they get an idea that there's not food and water in there. Snap another picture, blow those up to an 8.5 by 11, laminate it, or get somebody like me to laminate it. And that would be a really good teaching tool for a small group of folks to explain what the hub is.
And now that I see Erica, we wouldn't give out the trifold. We would, at Night Out, we would give out the West Seattle card, which is what I just ordered 500 more of. Okie doke. All right, so and keep watching the chat, because once I share my screen, I can't see it, so.
Roger that.
And somebody give me a thumbs up when you see the video-ish thing.
Yeah, we can see that you're sharing it.
Okay, now I just gotta remember how to, I don't know why I didn't get the optimized, but let's see what happens.
Thank you for your interest in emergency communication hubs. Let's find out what a hub is and why they're important to you.
Can you hear it?
Yep.
The Pacific Northwest is a beautiful part of the country. The mountains we enjoy were formed when the earth under our feet shifted. Because the earth is still shifting, Seattle is at risk for a very strong earthquake. If a major earthquake were to happen, police, fire, and ambulances would quickly be overwhelmed by all the people asking for help. Emergency workers cannot help everyone, so we need to be ready to take care of ourselves. Seattle communities are organizing to make those first days and weeks less stressful for their neighbors. Let's learn more about these efforts and how they fit into Seattle's response plan. All over the world, after every disaster, neighbors gather together to help one another. Seattle neighbors will do the same. After an earthquake, we will be concerned that something might fall on us during an aftershock, so we'll gather in spaces that are open to the sky. Parks, community gardens, even parking lots will become natural gathering places. The circles on this Seattle map indicate those logical gathering spots. We call these sites hubs. The hubs with solid centers have neighbors working together and organizing. The hubs with hollow centers are waiting on neighbors to get involved and get organized. At the organized hubs, neighbors have gathered equipment that would be useful to their community after a disaster. Their equipment is in unmarked metal boxes. Most of them are less than 3 feet tall and usually 4 feet wide. They easily fit in the back of a pickup truck. You'll find boxes like these all over Seattle. Most of them hold rakes and shovels for park maintenance or sports equipment, and some are actually hub boxes. You cannot tell the difference. As you see in this picture, the hub box has space for a folding table, a couple chairs, signs, paperwork, a few tools, and other things to help neighbors communicate. The gear in the hub box is enough to get neighbors organized. It probably is not everything they will need, but it's a great start. Hubs have 2 major missions. They gather and share information, and they match needs and resources. After a large earthquake, cell phones and the internet might not work, and we will probably lose power. It'll be hard to find out what is going on and what to do to stay safe. Neighbors will come to the hub with information to share, so the box has supplies to capture and post what's going on in the community. This is information you might see posted at a hub. There's a downed power line across Rainier Avenue South and Henderson Street. Keep away. Rite Aid Pharmacy will be open tomorrow from noon to 3 p.m. Bring your medicine bottle. Hub volunteers and ham radio operators work closely together. Ham radio operators will gather information from city officials, such as boil tap water for 1 minute before drinking. University Bridge is closed to traffic. In addition to gathering and sharing information, Hub volunteers also match needs and resources. The Hub box has paperwork so neighbors can write down what they need and what they have to share. Hub volunteers work to find matches between households. For example, this household needs a tarp to cover their cracked chimney. Another household has a tarp they're not using. That's a match. This young family needs diapers. This household has extra diapers. That's a match. A neighbor who lost their puppy and a neighbor who found a puppy. That's a match. Sometimes it's not stuff that's needed, it's help doing something. This household needs plastic put over their broken window. This able-bodied neighbor can get on a ladder and secure plastic to keep out the rain. Neighbors helping neighbors. In addition to gathering information and matching needs and resources, hubs also have an area to organize the neighbors who want to help. Volunteers. Some will check on nursing homes to see if they need help. Medical personnel might be sent to help at a first aid station. Other neighbors will be asked to sweep up debris. Everyone has skills that will be useful after a disaster. Hubs also have an education area to help neighbors get their questions answered. Hub volunteers have tried to think of questions people might have and print accurate information in the Hub box. Now that you have a better understanding of what the hubs do, let's look at how Seattle prepares for a disaster so you understand how the hubs fit in. This large pyramid shows the different levels of preparedness. The bottom level, the base of the pyramid, is your household. It's the biggest because that's where most of what you will need after a disaster comes from. Seattle does not have huge amounts of food and water stashed away to give out after a big disaster. Neighbors often assume the Hub box contains food and water and are surprised when they see tables, paperwork, and posters. The city of Seattle asks that all households store enough food, water, and other necessities to take care of their needs for 2 weeks. That's the goal, everyone prepared for 2 weeks of being on your own. However, the city understands that many households don't have the extra funds or the storage space to make that happen. So they ask that if your household can prepare, that you do so. We will cope with any disaster that comes our way, but it will be much easier if everyone has put aside what they can. The next level up on the preparedness pyramid is you and your neighbors. Whether those neighbors live on the floors above and below your apartment, or they live up and down your street. No matter how well prepared your household is, all of us will need neighbors after a disaster. The nurse in the apartment upstairs might be able to clean your cut so it does not get infected. The person down the street might have the skill and the tools to help you keep the rain from coming in around your leaking window. Everyone has skills that will be useful after a disaster. Medical training would be great, but maybe you're good at cooking for a crowd, getting people organized, or you can keep kids calm and entertained. Maybe you can translate for someone or sit with a neighbor who's struggling with the shock of it all. We all have skills and we will all need each other. The next level up in the preparedness pyramid is where hubs fit in. Hubs are all about supporting their community. Hubs coordinate neighbors helping neighbors. The triangle at the top of the pyramid is the city of Seattle and all of its departments. Notice that it's the smallest of all the levels. City resources will be stretched very thin after a disaster. At any given time, there are about 200 firefighters and ambulance personnel on duty in Seattle, and there are more than 800,000 of us, plus tourists. The priority will be fighting fires, performing search and rescue, and treating the wounded in the areas hardest hit by the shaking. Depending on where you live, you may not see a first responder for some time while they're tied up and taking care of those hit hardest by the disaster. Also, first responders cannot work forever without rest, and the next shift might have trouble getting into the city if transportation is disrupted. A large earthquake could cause so much damage that no city would have enough resources or trained people to take care of everyone. So what can we do to be more self-sufficient? Get your household prepared and work with your immediate neighbors to prepare together. The City of Seattle has resources to help. Next, visit our website, www.seattleemergencyhubs.org. Find your local hub and reach out to the hub captain. Ask to be included on their email list. We practice regularly to make sure our system runs smoothly and to better understand how to handle the issues our communities might face. Everyone involved with the hubs is a volunteer, a neighbor just like you, who understands the wisdom of taking steps to prepare before a disaster. Thank you for your time. You can contact us at info@seattleemergencyhubs.org. Don't hesitate. Get involved.
I had seen those credits. I saw you
Yeah.
take that last hit of wine and I was going, you must be so relieved and proud. That was just fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks to all the others of the hub captains who reviewed script,
Yes.
looked at the
Yes.
first ones, you know.
Yep. Gave comments. Yeah.
Yep.
This was definitely a group effort.
Yep. So hopefully she's got a few more credit things to work out with the city of
Yeah.
Seattle, and then we'll be able to send that out. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thumbs up, thumbs up. So,
Can I
Amy?
leave spiritual advisor on there, Cindy?
No, you can take that off. That was fun for tonight. There was did you catch there was a black kind of like,
Yeah.
okay.
No city. I can't find an image. I was going for the drama.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll go back and I'll see what it was, you know, because I kind of went, did my computer just eat the screen, you know?
Right.
And I'll
Right.
see if there's
Yeah.
anything that I can think of that might fit whatever was going on.
Okay.
All right, thank you everybody for staying, and thank you for your ideas. I think this is gonna be a really fun drill. So I can't wait to come up with injects to throw at you, and we'll get more information out. And I will get kind of crappy notes out, the video uploaded, and then more when I get back next Wednesday. So, all right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Enjoy your trip, Cindy. Try to relax and
Yeah.
for a few days.
We'll
I
see how
missed
much
it.
internet I have. It's in Glacier, near East Glacier, at a ham conference.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you're not going out camping?
Well, it's in our fifth wheel, you know, in a field with no water, no electricity, no nothing. So I get a nice bed, but it's like camping.
Oh. Cool.
Well,
good.
enjoy.
Have fun.
Yeah. All right. Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.